my name is Allison Paulus, and this is my Interpersonal Communication Project for Human Services 508. Next slide. I'm going to be discussing effective communication, my overarching goals, how my background and behavioral blend has influenced my conversation. I will define and identify potential barriers that I have. I'll also identify and provide solutions for the noise pollution, both internal and external. And then finally, I will talk about my goals and how I can and have been able to improve my interpersonal communication. Next slide. What is communication? According to Stewart, he defined communication as the continuous, complex, collaborative process of verbal and non-verbal meaning making. This comes in many different forms. He also defined interpersonal communication as the kind or quality of contact that happens when people involved talk and listen in ways that maximize the presence of the personal. This is when relationships can truly form and grow. Now, enlarging the conversation is all about responding with positivity and compassion. It helps others feel as if they have not only been heard, but also understood. There is more than just one way to communicate, and it's about understanding that conversation is collaborative. According to Samata, your communication technique is your indisputable calling card. It instantly establishes who you are, how you feel, and what you expect from yourself and others. We often make our reputation with our ability to speak. Communication defines public image as much as action does. You can do all the good deeds you can think of, but if you fail to communicate effectively and positively, your reputation can be damaged. Next slide. My overarching goals. Now, through constant prayer, I have been guided toward the health and wellness field. My desire is to help others achieve life-changing goals. Lifestyle changes are usually the hardest to successfully accomplish. As for my overarching communication goals, I constantly pray that God continues to use me to help build others. In order to have God use me to the fullest, I must continue to work on my listening skills. It is important to me that I personally can achieve level 1 listening. I need to work on responding compassionately instead of with resistance. I know this will assist in how others will respond back to me and how they will feel about what I am talking about. Empathetic listeners' overall focus is to listen from the heart, which opens the doorway to understanding, caring, and empathy. Burley Allen. Personally, my overarching goal is to communicate without accusing, attacking, or judging. Unfortunately, I have to admit that I have been listening at a level 3 too often, where I listen just in spurts. Next slide. My background and behavior blend. My personality assessment result from Carbonell was I was a combination of C/I/S. We all have behavior blend, which makes up our identity. Our culture and surroundings have and will continue to affect our communication. From a young child to now as an adult, I have heard the following words to describe my personality. Friendly, passive but outgoing at times, honest, joyful, passionate about inspiring and helping others, able to relate well to others, hardworking, and not very demanding. Not only were those some of my results, but that is who I am. My communication blend affects me positively because I am able to relate well to others and inspire others. I'm able to solve difficult problems. I enjoy open conversations and detailed discussions. Now, my communication blend can affect me negatively because, as my results stated, I am usually correct about my observations of others, but can be too tough with the facts. I also tend to abuse the ones I love with critical words. I tend to think too much, my emotions go up and down, and I back down when people confront me. Next slide. My potential barriers. It is an active, not passive process. It is a powerful force in human relationships. When you listen well, you can improve the self-esteem of others by conveying that you acknowledge them, and everyone needs to be acknowledged. Havjik. When it comes to communicating with family and/or my husband, I tend to show less compassion than I do with other individuals in my life. I tend to get defensive and become verbally aggressive with them. I notice that I interrupt often and already make assumptions, which means I'm not effectively listening. I may label the conversation and information as something I'm not interested in, and I don't express genuine compassion or interest. I get really antsy when speakers take a while to get to the point to tell his or her story. This occurs with my husband, who is amazing but talks a lot. I tend not to give him my full attention, and I fake listen, which I know is hurtful and unfair. Using exaggeration words like always and never, which tend to create arguments, these words tell the other person that I think that they cannot make the necessary changes to their behavior. I tend to be an advice giver instead of expressing my ideas and information in a way for others to decide for themselves. Next slide. Now, to overcome these barriers, I think I can overcome these communication barriers by using empathetic listening towards my family and my husband. I need to begin to listen without defending. When it comes to communication with my husband, we have utilized the talker listener card from Peterson, which has helped tremendously. I know my husband now feels heard and understood. Keeping eye contact, showing good posture, and facial expressions during any conversation can truly make a difference as well. This lets the talker know that you are actively listening. Instead of using exaggeration words, it would be more beneficial if I just told the person what I was feeling so he or she is aware. Like most communication, it's all about communicating feelings in an encouraging manner so the recipient will know and attempt to change their behavior. Now, when it comes to my advice giving barrier, I know I have to work on how I share my information, because what makes sense to me and works for me, it might not make sense or work for the other individual. Next slide. What is noise pollution? Internal. Hearing what you want to hear, biased listening, or fatigue. Now, some solutions to those would be not allowing my past experiences to influence my listening and judgments, patience, listening at a level 2 so that you do not miss information and can hear what speakers are trying to say. Next slide. External. Loud noises, the speaker talking too quickly, doing too many things at once. The solutions to those: find a secluded area where there will be little to no distractions and little noise. Try to focus on one thing at a time and ask for clarity if needed. Now, noise pollution altogether are factors that influence an individual to be distracted from effectively listening at a level 1 to another person. Next slide. Now, what am I going to do with all that I have learned? These are my plans. Pay more attention to how I communicate with others. Focus on more reflective and empathetic listening. Make sure to focus on listening at a level 1, mainly all the time. Continue to pray for patience, compassion, and understanding when it comes to communicating with family. Focus on truly listening from my heart. Pay more attention to my own communication blend and use it to my benefit so I can get others to open up to me and trust that they can communicate with me. Ultimately, my main goals is a Bible verse from James chapter 1, verse 19. My dear brothers and sisters, take note of this. Everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. Those are definitely my life goals. Next slide. I do not want to solve people's problems, but I want to help guide them so that they can solve it themselves. Since resistance is common when it comes to making changes, it is important that I am aware of negative words that could turn the listener off. I don't want to give off resistance, and I don't want my clients to have to deal with resistance. Burley Allen mentioned it is important to keep the focus of communication centered on the problem rather than personalities, and I think that's a good idea. I understand and believe that this class has already made an important impact on how I communicate with others. Conversation is about building relationships, making people feel heard, understood, and cared for, and that is how I plan to make others feel. Thank you.